What could possibly go wrong? I'm looking at some pitfalls of religions to be aware of. One would be translating scripture from one language to another. So for an example, in Genesis chapter 1, verse 6, we read, "And God made two great lights on day 4. So people automatically assume that the sun and the moon were made on day 4, when in fact the word made here is not created, but appointed. So the sun and moon were created in the beginning, but in this verse, they were appointed their place in the sky. Second, of course, you've got the theological bias of a translator, which then, of course, changes the way scripture is translated. Number 3 here I have is the ability to sell a translation requires that the scripture has enough variance in it so it doesn't conflict with other translations, because it has to justify its marketability. So obviously money here enters into this mix. I give you an example of the NSAB. In Revelation chapter 1 verse 6, it says, "Priest to his God and Father." Here it seems to be saying that Christ has a God, and that's his Father. But in the margin of the same translation, it reads, "Priest to God and his Father." So here it says that Christ is God and has a Father. In Revelation chapter 20, verse 6, it says to priests of God and Christ. So there's Father is God and Christ is God. So depending on which translation you like, you can justify your theology. Another thing to watch for is if you're going to graduate from a certain seminary, you then have to regurgitate the theology that you were trained in. Another point is when a church is looking for a pastor, well, they're going to try and look for somebody who's going to carry on the theological bent that they are on. This, of course, eliminates all challenges to their theology and stunting spiritual growth. And there's no shortage of translations out there. Some have verses, others don't have. So just to be aware that this is out there.